History tells every person's story differently. Right or wrong, it all depends on who you are. To say the first settlers of a swath of land we call home arrived in the mid-1800s is nothing more than a lie. Our history sometimes forgets this.
Since the time when the glaciers formed the beautiful lakes around us, people have lived here in Gratiot County.
But they didn't call it that. How could they have known that hundreds or thousands of years later, towns like Ithaca, Elma, or St. Louis would stand where they lived?
Throughout the county, burial mounds have been discovered and excavated, revealing sites of old fires, stone-headed tools, and the final resting places of prehistoric humans where Elm Hole and Riverdale stand today.
As recently as the early 1800s, Chippewa tribes flourished along the Maple River, although the arrival of white traders and settlers would cut them off for the short time.
With the arrival of the traders came the plague that would all but drive the natives from their Gratiot homes, smallpox.
Their desperate attempts to cure the sick members of their tribes came to no avail. Eventually, most traveled north to land on reservations or west to join other camps. Although a few remained in time, their land was turned over to white settlers.
However, not all hope was lost. In 1848, the Bethany Lutheran Mission was founded.
Reverend August Kramer, a German Lutheran from what would someday become Frankenmuth, traveled to mid-Michigan, just north of Gratiot County.
There, he established a school and church at the Chippewa Native Reserve. The 100 Chippewa people called their settlement Shingwakusing, or the place where small pines grow.
Along with Kramer came James Groot, a language teacher who taught Chippewa students English for 5 hours a day and translated church services.
Grew also developed a written language for Chippewa, including a dictionary which he published in Detroit.
He did this in order to help the native children speak and sing in their own language.
The first permanent structure built in Gratiot County was Arnold Payne's barn in what would become Fulton Township. Meanwhile, the three sister cities of Gratiot were being developed.
Although I originally named it Pine River, the city of St. Louis stands where it because of me, Joseph Clapp. In 1853, I returned to Ohio after seeking my fortune in the California gold rush before deciding to open a sawmill along the banks of the Pine River. With Sylvanus' groom, his family, and hired some hands. We established the mill in a small settlement to go along with it, but it wasn't until Dr. Abraham Crawford purchased and surveyed the surrounding land and the settlement took off. By 1856, only 3 short years later, we were cutting lumber for all of mid-Michigan.
Joe wasn't the only one who built a sawmill. I, Ralph Eli, started mine in 1853 too. Along with my family and hired men, I established the first buildings in Elyton, modern day Elma. Unlike Joseph Clapp, my mill was powered by steam engines, meaning the residents of mid-Michigan were able to have doors, window frames, and other luxuries. Elma became immensely popular. At one point, all of its residents were so sure it would be chosen for the county seat that it was nicknamed Gratiot City.
Neither Clapp or Ely would have expected John Jeffrey's Gratiot Center. The central location in the county made my land prime real estate for anyone looking to live in the county seat. It soon began to grow exponentially. By the early 1900s, the courthouse Ithaca residents, known and loved today, stood proudly in the center of it.
Of course, the three towns didn't exist in perfect harmony. In 1854, Clapp and Ely had encountered that they would cause decades of bitterness and resentment. For Clapp's sawmill to operate, it was necessary to build a dam over the Pine River. However, the river was impossible to navigate. Large vessels, canoes, and small barges could easily pass.
One fall, as Ely and some other men paddled upstream to purchase supplies in the city of Saginaw, they returned with the barge only to find that Clapp's dam had been nearly completed. Ely insisted that the dam be removed, while Clapp insisted that Ely move his supplies by hand.
I returned with a group of men armed with axes and pickaxes. It was up to us to deliver the food to Elyton. After an altercation with Clapp, Mr. Henry Sweeting struck the first blow to the dam, and soon it was all washing away down the Saginaw.
That's not what happened at all. As I remember, Ellie caused a hysteria in town and marched to my dam, armed with pistols and other firearms. The dam had to be rebuilt years later.
Although Gratiot settlement had only just begun, Clapp would return to Ohio, possibly fed up with local politics. For the next 10 years, hundreds of settlers from eastern states, as well as Canada, England, and Germany, would call mid-Michigan home.
The early pioneers suffered through harsh terrain and cold nights to survive. The frigid winters would cause frostbite, and people could be crushed by falling trees.
In 1855, the U.S. government ordered all of the purchased land in Gratiot to be improvised by its owners. This led to many inexperienced settlers struggling to learn how to farm.
Combined with the unpreparedness of the settlers who rushed to buy the cheap land, this rapid growth gave the county a memorable nickname in the coming winter months, Starving Gratiot.
Growing conditions on the new frontier were subpar, and even experienced farmers struggled. After persisting on grass and brush, many animals became sick and died.
There was no food, no money, and very little permanent shelters. A sudden frost had destroyed all hope of a decent harvest for those lucky enough to even grow crops.
If it had not been for numerous deer and bear in the area, many Gratiot residents would have starved. Luckily, Gratiot has a large supply of guns and ammunition.
The mild fall of 1856 was referred to as Smoky October after a forest fire destroyed nearly 100 acres of trees near Emerson. The smoke caused many Gratiot residents to fall ill, along with their animals, with a hazy smell persisting for months.
By 1859, relief from the government had come through for Gratiot County. The starving times were over and the county could continue to grow.
For another century and a half, Gratiot continued to grow, participating in America's wars and major events, and growing into the beautiful county we love, right in the middle of the mitten.